Have you ever felt like you're dropping into the middle of someone else's conversation when you read the New Testament letters? One minute, Paul's talking about theology, the next, he's asking for a cloak. It can feel disjointed. That's because, in a way, we are listening to someone else's mail, and understanding that is the key to unlocking their power. These weren't abstract essays dropped from heaven. They were urgent, passionate, and deeply personal correspondence, written to real people in real crises. In the ancient world, a letter was a substitute for the author's physical presence. For apostles like Paul, often imprisoned or traveling, a letter was how they continued to pastor, teach, and guide their communities from afar. And this was a serious undertaking. A long letter like Romans would have cost the equivalent of over $2,000 today in materials and the labor of a professional scribe, an amanuensis. In fact, in Romans 16, the scribe Tertius even adds his own greeting. The apostle would often dictate the letter, and then, to prove it was authentic, would take the pen himself to write the closing, sometimes noting, like in Galatians, "See what large letters I use as I write to you with my own hand." Then, a trusted friend like Phoebe or Tychicus would hand-deliver it, read it aloud to the entire congregation, and answer their questions. This wasn't private reading, it was a communal event. Every single letter was prompted by a specific occasion. Reading them without that context is like hearing one side of a phone call. You can easily misunderstand the tone and the point. Paul writes to the Galatians in a fiery, almost angry tone, skipping his usual Thanksgiving prayer. Why? Because a group of outside teachers were insisting that Gentile believers had to become Jewish to be part of God's family, tearing the community apart. His letter isn't an abstract treatise on faith versus works. It's an emergency intervention to preserve the unity of a multi-ethnic church. He writes to the Corinthians to address chaos, divisions, lawsuits, and confusion about worship. He writes to Philemon to make a deeply personal appeal about a runaway slave, demonstrating how faith in Jesus shatters the social hierarchies of the Roman world. And yet, through all these different situations, the letters keep returning to the same foundational pillars. They address faith not just as a set of beliefs, but as a life-altering allegiance to Jesus as King. They champion unity, calling people from radically different backgrounds, Jew and Gentile, slave and free, to become one family in Christ. They teach ethics, showing how our new identity in Christ should reshape how we treat one another. And they inspire perseverance, encouraging believers to endure persecution by fixing their eyes on Jesus. So when we open these letters, let's remember we're not just reading a book. We are stepping into the life of a first-century community. We're hearing an apostle's heart for his people, their struggles, their questions, their victories. They are real letters for real life.